Tim, thank you for being here on what I think is probably legitimately going to be your last week before Mark comes back.
Bummer.
But in any case, we'll really rip Mark next week about all of his romantic travails as we lead into the Oscars. Tim, we are now days away from our Oscar show, our KPCC Oscar show.
Big show on the 19th.
On the 19th, we will record live at the Ace Theater in the Ace Hotel, downtown Los Angeles, 1 p.m. You can go to scpr.org, or I guess you could probably even go to the Ace Hotel site. I don't even know what that is. scpr.org is where I would recommend. The live Film Week Oscar show. On the 19th, 1 p.m., Ace Theater, downtown L.A., and then that winds up being live at 11 a.m., or being the broadcast time. It's not live, but the actual broadcast show is 11 a.m. on the 24th, Friday, 2 days before the Academy Awards.
Yes,
that'll be really interesting. So, anyway, Mark will be back soon. We'll find out if he is, in fact, on his way to marital bliss or some kind of disastrous who knows what. It's
gonna have to talk
it's a global relationship. Those things are tough.
You know what you and I haven't really talked about regarding the Academy Awards.
Yeah,
right. What are you thinking right now as I look at the? First of all, generally speaking, I'm really happy about the nominations this year across the board.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I could poke at any one thing here or there. I could fill in that 10th slot,
sure,
et cetera, et cetera. But I'm okay about this in terms relevant to me, and just sort of Hollywood cinematic good movies being nominated terms.
I am very happy with most of the nominations this year. I'm less happy with some of the films. I think some of the films could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
Last week we talked about Loving. I wanted that to be better. I like Manchester by the Sea a lot. Feel it could have been a tad better.
Mm-hmm.
So, Moonlight, I like an awful lot. I have a few problems with the final third. I mean, these are all films that I really like, but I wanted to love.
Mm-hmm.
There were only a few films that I love. I'm disappointed Sing Street didn't get any nominations, but it wasn't really heavily lobbied for,
Yeah.
So, but on balance, I'm happy, and I'm particularly happy because La La Land is one of my favorite films of the past 26 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I truly love it.
It and Moonlight are the strong favorites.
They are, with Manchester probably kind of bringing up the rear. Those are really the only three.
I think Manchester's out of the running, to be frank.
For screenplay, too? You think Lonergan has a shot?
Lonergan might only have a shot for screenplay.
Because the
playwright has... But that might be his only shot.
Yeah.
Certainly not best director.
You think best actor is going to go Denzel?
Is his
he was
to lose. He was the darling of the Golden Globe and of the Screen Actors Guild.
Here's what I find really, really interesting. Denzel, people forget, it's not just about doing the work. It's about doing the awards season as well. And you have to be a good citizen. And people forget, the Academy Awards don't honor the best. They honor the most popular, right?
To a certain extent, yeah.
It is, I've said this many times, the Academy Awards are a snapshot of what the elite professionals of the business value at a particular given point in time. I don't think there's anybody in their right mind that really thinks that Rocky is a better movie than All the President's Men. Right?
So, yeah.
I don't think anybody really, really believes that John Wayne in True Grit is a legendary performance that is better than Jon Voight or Dustin Hoffman in Midnight Cowboy. Yeah. Nobody believes these things. Is Ordinary People better than Raging Bull or The Elephant Man? Yeah. No. Is Titanic a better movie than L.A. Confidential? No. We know this, but it gives us an eye into what people are motivated by at a given point in time. In 2001, Russell Crowe was so far ahead, the odds-on favorite to win back-to-back Best Actors, to be the third actor ever to do it after Spencer Tracy and Tom Hanks. He had won for Gladiator. He was going to win for Beautiful Mind because A Beautiful Mind was going to be Best Picture. And why would you not give Best Picture to and Best Actor? It's just, it was his until he threw a phone at a guy at a hotel. Yeah. He threw a phone at the freaking concierge at a hotel because he wasn't able to hold the connection to his wife or something. Come on, dude. Yeah. In that moment, Russell Crowe, people are scratching his name out on their ballot, and they're saying, you know what? Denzel's a really good citizen. Yeah. It's a great performance. It's a performance in a film. It's a non-racial performance.
He's making our industry look good.
He's making us look good. He's a good citizen. He's wonderful on the red carpet. He's a good father, a good husband. He's a role model. I like Denzel, and that's a great performance. King Kong ain't got nothing on me. Training Day. Yeah. And Denzel got the Oscar. This is similar. He's great in Fences, and we have to say, if he wins for Fences, it's going to be as a producer and a director as well, because that's his baby, the whole movie. But that whole Casey Affleck sexual assault thing.
Yeah, see, that's a thing. That's a thing that's weighing across, not just on Casey, because obviously it weighs on Casey, the culture in general. But it speaks to it in general. Particularly, when we have, everything vis-a-vis, Nat Turner and Nate Parker
and the Trump recording and everything that's sort of, it got into the air, that subject, and sexual assault suddenly got on everyone's mind.
So it might be a matter of Hollywood wanting to reward things we can be proud of.
Yeah,
writ large as an industry. Now that's where I think Barry Jenkins and Moonlight comes swooping in, though.
It's a possible upset.
Look, I'll say it here. I think Barry Jenkins is going to win
for director.
I think he is.
You think?
I think he is. I've been watching Barry Jenkins. You and I watch all year. I've been watching that young man walk up on these stages and make these really, really
eloquent, graceful
speeches, standing there being all handsome and black and gay. and America looks at him. And this movie about a young gay urban man embraced not just by Hollywood, like something like Tangerine Rings or something last year, but no, the nation has embraced it. In the Midwest, where my mother is, they are going to see this movie, along with Hidden Figures and a few other things.
Because it transcends all of the things that it appears to be about. It's ultimately, when I taught film history, I emphasized every film has a text, a subtext, and a context. And the filmmaker controls the text and the subtext, but the culture controls the context. And the obvious example that I always pulled out was Rocky. Okay, Rocky, what's it about? It's about a guy who's trying to he's trying to win if he can just hold his own in the big fight, he will feel like he won. Yeah. What's it really about? What's the subtext? Well, the subtext is a guy who's trying to prove to the woman he loves that he's deserving of her love. It's a romance. It's not really about a boxer. It's about a schlub who loves a girl. What's the context? Well, the context is 1976. The bicentennial year. America. Rocky is a surrogate for America. The underdog. The 13 colonies that held their own. That's what it is. But you couldn't control that. Rocky in 1987 would not have been the same movie that it was in 76. And I think with Moonlight, there's a similar thing going on. The fact that it arrives at a point in time when there is this diversity conversation, not something that Barry Jenkins could control, but it's a right place, right time thing. But the subtext
and right content.
Yes. But the subtext of that film has nothing to do with race, has nothing to do with sexual orientation. It has everything to do with something that everyone identifies with, which is growing up under really bad circumstances and trying to find who you are, trying to rise above your circumstances.
It's the human thing.
It is.
And that's what the film is about. It's the human thing. And there we have this whole sort of big national embracing of it. And I think that is, particularly in the context of Hollywood, and the Academy, and we much say the new Academy, big old class of new people came to the Academy, all kinds of young people and foreign people and brown people and women came into the Academy. I think in those terms, the whole Academy is going to look over there and say, let's associate ourselves with that guy.
They may.
They'll never be able to get us again.
I agree. It's definitely a 2-horse race. Yeah. It's a 2-horse race.
I think those are the 2 horses.
La La Land, by my count, is likely to win 8, possibly 9 awards. I don't think it's going to win more than 9, but I mean that would just be legendary status. Only 3 films have ever won more than 9.
Yeah.
And only 2 other films have ever won 9. A bunch have won 8, but I see it getting 8 or 9.
The best director will be tough for Chazelle, mostly because he's young.
Yeah.
And Hollywood looks at young directors.
But he won the DGA award.
He did, and which portends. It portends. I know it portends.
But that's not always a harbinger.
Not always, and there are just a few other voters,
Yeah.
And Hollywood looks at young people and say, we'll give you one later.
That's true.
Relax. Let the old man take the stage.
Yeah.
And they do that, So interesting. Anyway, we hadn't had a chance to talk about that. I'm glad we did.
Very good. Well, let's. You know what? I'm gonna. I got Kid Vid here, and Mark hates Kid Vid, so I'm gonna roll through a lot of this, and just get this out of the way. We've got a whole bunch of animals all over the place. Animals, nonstop animals. Some of those animals are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and at least if you call them animals, I've completely lost track of how many animated series they've done. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Earth's Last Stand from Nickelodeon. Kind of weird CGI animation. Not sure I really like it. It's kind of flat, kind of pale. Not really that bright, but there are 7 episodes here. The idea has something to do with a black hole generator and some bunch of aliens popping through a wormhole. I don't really. I'm sure kids follow it a lot better than I do. Anyway, it's the freaking Turtles. Shimmer and Shine, the big-headed little Nickelodeon genies with the blue hair and the red hair and the big eyes that my daughter thinks are really cute. She doesn't really understand what a genie is, but that's okay. I know what a genie is, and I love genies. And Shimmer and Shine is a cute show. This is 8 episodes, and it's kind of like it's Bubble Guppies as genies. I mean, that's basically what it is. If you like the Bubble Guppies, there it is. Lego. Have you seen the Lego Batman? Did you see that?
Yeah.
Any good?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's as good as the other one.
Yeah.
But whatever, dude. Will Arnett has been doing that. What his name is. What's disappointing about it?
Yeah.
All right, so there are all these Lego movies on the internet that anyone can find.
Yeah.
You know what they use in those movies? Legos. Actual Legos. They make the movies using stop motion animation and Legos.
Yeah.
You know what they don't do in these movies? Use any goddamn Legos. Not a single one in the whole movie. All digital. Maybe it only bugs me, but it bugs the hell out of me that there are no Legos in the Lego movies.
Well, we got Lego Star Wars: The Freemaker Adventures. Complete season 1 on Blu-ray. Comes with a little toy. I have kind of the same reaction to this, and especially when I see a Lego Jabba the Hutt, which seems to defy all reason. But that said, I guess
Jabba the Hutt isn't even shaped like a thing that you can make out of a Lego.
I know,
because he's gelatinous. He's a hut.
Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. So here, this is a little more interesting to me. Is Elena of Avalor, which is a Disney show. And they have basically created a television princess, and they have Princess Sophia as well. But the Disney Princess Industrial Complex, which my daughter is immersed in, and by the way, we call them warriors. Yeah. So my wife insists that we refer to them as warriors.
Better.
So and we've given her a lot of warrior stuff. But what's interesting is how they've expanded it to television and tied the two in. Now, we go to Disneyland a lot. We got the passes, and my daughter loves going to Disneyland and going on a Little Mermaid ride and the whole thing. But when you go into the shops and you see all the princess stuff just blowing in your face, they're just shoving it at you left and right. There is a ton of Elena of Avalor going on right now. They're pushing her as hard as they have pushed any of their theatrical princesses, which I find to be really, really interesting. And Elena, of course, is where this is, as they have been trying to do for a number of years, have princesses that cross all kinds of cultural and ethnic boundaries. And, it started with Pocahontas, and then we had, with Aladdin. And then, of course, we had Tiana and the Princess and the Frog. And so this is kind of in keeping, and of course, most recently, Moana. So this is in keeping with that, trying to, have a princess for every kind of little girl around the world, so that they see themselves reflected, in the princesses, and I think that's a wonderful thing. But I'm amazed that they've done it on television to this extent now. So Elena of Avalor, the Ready to Rule, and it's not a bad show. It really isn't. It's done very, very well. It is first rate, and they have the same level of animation as Sophia the First, which is also really, really good. We also have The Wildlife on Blu-ray and DVD. This is not the Chris Penn movie from the 1980s. This is an animated, a mediocre animated kind of a tropical island comedy that is allegedly based on Robinson Crusoe, although if you have read Robinson Crusoe, you will not recognize anything from that great work of literature in this very, very silly movie. But nonetheless, there it is. This is from the people at Summit, who are likely to pick up a Best Picture for La La Land, and that will erase any memory of this very, very strange movie called The Wildlife. Disney also has the Lion Guard, Life in the Pride Lands. This is Lion King, backstory basically, which is on Disney Junior, and it's fine. It's a little bit cloying, but you can get over it if you watch enough of it with a young enough child that doesn't mind. It's okay. Life in the Pride Lands, and this is it comes with all kinds of little kiddie bonus features like 2 music videos and these strange shorts that I don't really understand. I am elated that the Teletubbies are back, and I just could not be happier. I am a Teletubbies nut from a very, very early age, and we have a Teletubbies Snowball here, which is just 6 episodes of the Teletubbies, the new Teletubbies, which is pretty much the same as the old Teletubbies. We got Poe and Tinky Winky, and I'm sorry, it's just the best thing in the world because it's completely psychotic and weird. And whoever sits in those costumes, I really want to meet them. I like them very, very much. I think it's a wonderful thing. Can't get enough Teletubbies these days. And I thought I had another Teletubbies here, but I may have. Don't have it. Oh, yeah. Yep. You know what? I did. I thought I had another Teletubbies, but I actually had another Elena. So I also want to make mention of this Elena and the Secret of Avalor, The Magic Within. That is also out there. So a lot of Elena. And then Shopkins are not good role models for children. I don't recommend this by any means. This is deeply disturbing. These are almost like what was that? John Benet Ramsey.
Oh yeah.
These are like animated John Benet Ramseys. I do not. The Shopkins is not something you should let little girl watch. Barbie is borderline. The Barbie and her sisters in a puppy chase is rather shameless toy promotion. It's not terribly great animation, but the Barbie things are very popular. So I'm going to say if you have already taught your daughters well and they are at an age where they know to kind of sneer at this and be cynical, it's maybe not that harmful. My Little Pony. What can I say? There are bronies out there. There are men who think that this stuff is great. This is the spin-off, the Equestria Girls, Legend of Everfree. This is a Blu-ray, DVD, and digital download set, and it's from Shout Kids. And you know what? It's the Equestria Girls. They're teenage girls and they ride ponies, and it is what it is. This is really interesting. This thing here. It's called Stickman. This is
it literally is that.
It is literally that. It is a stick man. It's like a weird living little piece of wood who's a little man. But it is really, really well done. This is like classic children's book storytelling, and it's fascinating. There's a book that we used to read my daughter when she was little called Room on the Broom, which was made into an animated short, which is very, very sweet. Room on the Broom, about a witch on a broom and all these animals joined on the broom, and it's actually a very, very sweet story. Also written by the same people who did The Gruffalo, which is also really, really great.
The Gruffalo, yeah.
The Gruffalo. The same animators that did the animated versions of those do the tale of Stickman, who has to survive the many, many seasons of going the year's worth of seasons, all 4 seasons, and has to get back to his stick lady love and their stick children. And it's actually quite poignant and very sweet. And what makes it is that it has three of the best British actors on the planet doing voices. And you forget that you're listening to Hugh Bonneville from Downton Abbey and Jennifer Saunders from Ab Fab and Martin Freeman, who is, of course, The Hobbit. Forget about it. They're just great actors, and it is wonderful what they do as voice actors, and the animation just flows. It just flows with it. It's really, really great. Let me clean up a few more here. We got another Barbie video game hero. Terrible. Don't even bother. It's Barbie plus seriously, Barbie plus video games. It's like it's a recipe for hell. Your children will rebel against you in a heartbeat. Power Rangers Dino Charge, the complete season. That means that it only ran one season. Pretty standard Power Rangers stuff. Although I have to say, what I want to take in this, it's just a lot of fighting and costumes and bad makeup. But you get the whole season there. But what I'm interested in is the new Power Rangers movie. Have you seen the trailer for the new Power Rangers?
I have indeed. I go back with the Power Rangers.
It doesn't look Power Ranger-y.
Yeah.
It looks very adult.
Yeah.
It looks like they're aiming at people like me, and that's a little scary.
They would have to. Dude, when I hit town in '90, Power Rangers, first layer of Power Rangers, first incarnation, I should say, of Power Rangers was happening hard over there at Saban. Yeah, it was insane. I remember interviewing the Pink Power Ranger for some goofy thing. Amy Jo was her name. Amy Jo something. A friend of mine, her brother was one of the original Power Rangers. Too. Yeah, one of the originals. Actually, I did have the other. Here was the other Teletubbies. I was disorganized today. Big Hugs, which includes the Big Hugs song. If you don't know the Big Hugs song, you are so missing out. I walk up to perfect strangers on the street and I sing them the Big Hugs song and then I hug them. And for some reason, they punch me. I don't understand it. Don't know the song.
Just don't get it. Anyway, Teletubbies Big Hugs, a lot of fun. This has 6 episodes on it, including Babies, which is one of my all-time favorite Teletubbies episodes. You've got to see it. It is absolutely fantastic. Glad I didn't forget that. Super Y is great for teaching kids how to read. I swear by it. This is a PBS Kids series. This is Puppy Power. Don't worry about it. It's got 4 episodes. They're just, the bottom line is, you get this to help your kids learn words and letters and how to read. It's terrific. Really, really well done. Little kids become superheroes. It's fantastic. Guardians of Oz is fairly shameless attempt at just jumping on the Wizard of Oz bandwagon, throwing in artwork that's a little bit Tim Burton-y, but not quite. And or kind of between Tim Burton and Robots. Remember that animated film, Robots? Yeah. It's kind of between that. Really not. I can't really recommend this. It's it's mediocre. It's fine. It's passable. But it's if you're an Oz fan, if you love the Wizard of Oz and all of that L. Frank Baum stuff, it's not gonna encourage you. Surf's Up 2, sequel to Surf's Up. This is Wave Mania. This is from the WWE studios. They managed to, use some of their WWE people to do voices in animated films now, and it's weird and a little bit disturbing, but it's got a following. So John Cena and Undertaker and Triple H, they all jump in and they do voices for penguins and seals, and here we go. It Surf's Up too. Very strange that actually became a thing, but there it is. Word World from PBS Kids, also really, really good for teaching kids how to read. This is Building Readers Let's Make Music, also highly recommended. Another Power Rangers, Dino Supercharge Roar. This is Volume 1, 10 episodes. You know what? This actually looks more like it uses Legos than the Lego movies, gotta be honest. And then the last few are all things that I'm not overly thrilled with. Singing with the Stars 2. This is a Sesame Street thing where, all the guests, all the name guests who can actually sing join Sesame Street characters to do some kind of television singing. Look, I love Gwen Stefani. I love Janelle Monáe. I love Macklemore. Aloe Block. Is it Aloe Black? Aloe Black? Who is that?
I don't know who that is.
That's the one I don't know. But anyway, Macklemore, Janelle Monáe, and Gwen Stefani, they are terrific. If you like them, then you can tolerate that they're singing along with Elmo. Playtime with Caillou. It's another Caillou. He's bald. I don't like him. It's Canadian. I have problems. PJ Masks. Let's Go PJ Masks. Another one of these kids that become superhero things that doesn't really have a point to it. You're not learning to read. They're not really teaching you life lessons. It's just quickie CGI animation for the sake of quickie CGI animation. Don't really cop to that. Miraculous, Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir, Be Miraculous. I'm a little bit more down with this. I'm kind of enjoying it. My daughter doesn't. I enjoy it more because it's kind of like an animated version of Electra Woman and Dyna Girl, which is one of the guilty pleasures of my childhood. So I can hang with this. And then lastly, Star Paws, Cats and Dogs on a Galactic Adventure. I am so sick of all that cats and dogs stuff. This is essentially a lowbrow version of the remember the cats and dogs, they tried to launch that franchise where cats and dogs are warring. They have their secret little tech war between each other.
Yeah.
That nonsense. That's more of this. That's kind of what this is doing. It on a very low budget with mediocre special effects. It's passable only if you like cats and dogs enough to tolerate their cuteness in a bad movie. All right. Tim, we got Brit TV. We got a lot of Brit TV.
We got a crap load of Brit TV here, sir. Some of it pretty good, actually, including The Secret Agent, British television series drama that I rather enjoy, BBC series adaptation of Joseph Conrad's timeless novel. This was actually just pretty damn good. 3 episodes, 178 minutes. Here it's basically it's based on the story, H.G. Wells and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's pretty neat, and starring in it Toby Jones, Vicky McClure, and Stephen Graham and Ian Hart. This is good. There are a number of there's a resurgence of this sort of time travel here. We have Timeless on television right now. There's going to be a reincarnation of this story on an ABC series in March that's going to be coming.
Oh, wow.
Too. Yeah. So that's sort of like back again for whatever reason. I have Victoria. I'm particularly nuts about Victoria.
I like this show.
It's a very, very good show. Very dramatic. Done well. Looks fantastic. Stars Jenna Coleman, who's a Doctor Who girl, which is why I'm particularly nuts about her. Tells the story based on Daisy Goodwin's novel of the young Queen Victoria.
Yeah.
Right when she was coming into power. I think I heard that today or tomorrow is Queen Elizabeth, the current queen's, 65th anniversary on the throne, and she is now officially the longest reigning queen on Queen of England after this chick.
Wow.
Who was only like 60 years or something like that. But
wow.
So that's sort of fantastic.
That's extraordinary. We also have Brief Encounters. You know what? This is actually a really, really fun show, and
That's that one set in the 80s.
This one's set in the 80s, set in the early 80s, and it's about it kind of gets into that Calendar Girls, Full Monty thing. People who just they need to change in life. They need to do something different. They need to switch it up. Things aren't quite going great, and this is about 4 of these friends. They get together and they decide they're going to basically sell marital aids and lingerie, and this is their new market, and this is the place they're gonna put their life. And it actually is really cool. It's got great music, great 80s music, a terrific cast, especially Penelope Wilton, who's been on Downton Abbey for 6 years, and this is a totally different role for her. She gets to kind of really loosen up and do something very, very different, which is great for her. And it's the fact that it's set in the 80s, it just gets into that place. The 80s was that moment when people expected it, but it was still a little bit shocking. You know, it was not pervy. It was not sort of red light district. It was mainstream, but it was still.
We were just starting to get, those guys dancing around, those sort of pretty dancing boys.
right.
Like there was like
Chippendales.
The Chippendales.
Era,
that was all just coming in.
So it's a fun show. Brief Encounters, definitely worth checking out. 2 discs.
1902, a dramatic Canadian series. I watched a couple of these. This is one of those sort of like mismatched cop series. You got this black cop and this white cop, and they're working this very difficult district out of Station 19. And over the course of, this is 10 episodes right here, over the course of 1 or 2 episodes, they come to see.
Yeah.
They got a whole lot more in common than they thought that they did. It's pretty good. Series, dramatic series. Though you will know a number of actors in the series. A lot of performance in the series show up in shows like Grimm and Sleepy Hollow, all of which of these shows, American shows that are shot up in Canada. So pretty good. Not a whole lot on here. 10 episodes. DVD.
Yeah.
800 words.
800 words, season 1. Not a bad show. It's not star-driven. There's nobody here that's necessarily going to really, light you up if you're looking for stuff that's sort of star-driven. But that said, this is an Australian show. So whereas, when we talk about Brit TV, we include Australian stuff and a lot of Canadian stuff as well. This is about basically a guy who takes his teenage kids, and decides to move from Sydney to New Zealand, to a small town in New Zealand. Now, if you live down under, and that you understand the cultural dynamics of going from Australia to New Zealand, you realize that is, in fact, to us in the United States, that's oh my gosh, isn't it the same thing?
Yeah.
Isn't it the same country?
Yeah.
People are like, New Zealand is a country? I thought it was part of Australia. No. Don't say that to Russell Crowe, because Russell Crowe is from New Zealand, but he lives in Australia.
Different indigenous peoples.
Completely. So totally different dynamics, different political systems, the whole thing. But if you compare this to American shows where people just kind of up and move and go from one place to another, and whether it's from the city to the small town or small town to the city, whatever, there's a lot of those. This actually is quite poignant, and it does a very good job of selling you on the dynamics very, very quickly. And it's well acted. It's sweet. It's really, really good. It just doesn't have any, recognizable stars in it. But the actors are all really solid. It's really, really well done. 800 words, season 1 from Acorn.
This is really, really good. Britain's Bloody Crown, which is about the Wars of the Roses, which is look, to me, as being something of an Anglophile, I love this period of
I do too. Well, you and I both love the low budget Field in England.
Field in England.
That was War of the Roses as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is basically about the period in England when there was a straight up battle on for the crown.
Yeah.
The House of York, the House of Lancaster.
Yeah.
And the crown goes back and forth several times, depending on who was winning at the time, and who the hell knew how it was going to come out. The battle for the throne, an actual battle for the throne. The kind of stuff that plays out in all of these sort of fantastical things like The Hobbit and all that kind of stuff that actually happened in the UK. Anyway, what I like most about this Britain's Bloody Crown is that it's part drama, part documentary. You sort of blends the two together. Not something that I'm usually very crazy about, to be honest with you. I usually keep my docs over here. But this actually does it quite well, and the production values are pretty damn fantastic. I'm trying to think of an equivalent period in American history. Maybe because a lot of people don't understand that War of 1812.
Civil War would be the only.
Civil War would be the only thing.
But that's a war of secession, and that's not really who's gonna. That's not the War of the Roses is really a totally unique thing. I mean, I guess the only analogy I can think of would be the Russian Civil War that came after the Revolution, the Reds and the Whites. We've thrown out the Tsar. Now we're going to fight among each other to figure out who gets to run this thing.
What the situation? Yeah, interesting stuff, man.
Jericho of Scotland Yard, absolutely terrific. Great British mystery. The Brits do mystery better than anybody else. This is period mystery, starring the amazing Robert Lindsay, who is just an absolutely superb actor. If you've ever seen him in anything, he's great in everything, absolutely everything. Especially when he was in Horatio Hornblower, that was particularly good. And this all takes place in the 1950s. Scotland Yard, the 1950s, is just good, rock-solid detective work. You don't have to be burdened with any of that sort of modern forensic stuff where you can solve your mysteries without ever actually leaving a laboratory. No, this is a guy who's really, really got to get down and dirty with his trench coat and his fedora. And it just feels a little bit like Brit Noir on television. It's really good, solid mystery writing, incredibly well acted, great supporting cast. Especially Claire Bloom and Jane Horrocks, who I just adore. Shows that great side that you never see, that dramatic side when she's not playing Bubbles. She's wonderful in this. So, definitely check this out. If you are a mystery or a Brit detective show fan, Jericho of Scotland Yard is absolutely fantastic.
Wentworth, season 1. They say that this show, British drama set in a prison, they say that this show is better than Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
It'll have to be damn good to be better than Orange.
Yeah,
Because Orange is the New Black. But that's what they say, and we shall see. Anyway, this is season 1 of the series. A lot of bonus behind the scenes material here, including a featurette and some interviews with the cast and crew. It is a good show, that's for sure. Better than Orange is the New Black.
In time. We shall
see.
In time.
We shall see about that one.
I got a couple of Blu-rays here as well. One from Acorn, one from PBS. The PBS one is pretty great. Aidan Turner in Poldark, complete second season. Masterpiece just keeps on just totally rocking it. They really, really do. This is Poldark has slowly become kind of a bit of another one of those masterpiece cult series. Takes place in 1790. And the American Revolution is depicted in through the eyes of people who have to. I guess the best way to put it is, it's still political, but it's more social in many respects. So it's very easy to get caught up in the American Revolution from the usual American point of view, which is we hate the king, looking for liberty, but that's not the angle here. This is about a way of life. This is about relationships. And Aidan Turner, who was briefly in The Hobbit, not a huge role in The Hobbit, but he is absolutely terrific in this. And this is the complete second season. Picks up right at the end of the first season when he was arrested, and it goes in some really, really fascinating directions. Really, really good American revolutionary soap opera stuff. So Aidan Turner, Poldark, second season on Blu-ray from PBS. And then Stephen Polyakov's Cold War drama, Close to the Enemy, from Acorn. 3 discs on Blu-ray. Outstanding cast, outstanding production value. Really, really interesting. Picks up right at the end of World War II. And the way in which, nobody had a chance to even breathe when we thought we defeated the Nazis, and now, boom, the Cold War begins. Yeah. Just sprinting right out of World War II. A whole new global collision, a global clash, and everybody has to shift gears now and kind of focus on the fact that your former ally is now your rival. And it is really, really just flawlessly done. August Diehl from Inglourious Bastards plays this German scientist who is going to become kind of a, it's not yet the space race, but he is certainly helping develop, jet engines to get you to the next phase of the international arms race. A lot of really interesting stuff here. There's a behind-the-scenes featurette and a lot of cast interviews and just a really, really incredible cast. Jim Sturgis, Alfred Molina, Angela Bassett, Freddie Highmore. They really, really just kill it. This is a fascinating story.
Interesting stuff there.
Yep.
Doctor Who, The Power of the Daleks. This is an interesting story here. So 1974, Patrick Troughton was playing the Doctor, right?
Yep.
This was a 6-part series that they did. They lost the video of the series back in 1974.
Ooh.
Always had the audio, right?
Mm-hmm.
For 50 years, they tried to figure out what the hell to do. What they decided to do was to animate to the original audio, this 6-part series for this episode of Doctor Who.
That's fascinating.
And they animated it back in black and white at the time, and now they've done it in color. Anyway, so you have the original dialogue, the original recordings, all of the original recordings from the 1974 episode. I didn't start watching Doctor Who until the 80s. I was a Tom Baker man.
Yeah.
And I had to go back
too.
and reconnect myself and all that. But anyway, newly animated in black and white and color. All kinds of bonus features on this as well. All kinds of animated test footage and stuff like that. The planet Vulcan plays a role in this particular episode.
Oh, that's great.
Of Doctor Who, which I've always found slightly sort of interesting. Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency, which is a very interesting British series from Max Landis that co-stars Elijah Wood with Samuel Barnett. This is a sort of wacky series that involves a wee bit of time travel. and a detective, and this sort of goofy guy that he.
Elijah Wood makes some really interesting choices.
Oh, he did that thing with the guy who was the giant dog in his imagination or something like that.
I mean, he made so much money off the Lord of the Rings. He can afford now to just do some weird, interesting things.
Yeah,
and he's doing it.
Lord of the Rings. He was the original Spider-Man. Did he do two of those? Did he do two Spider-Mans?
No, that's Toby.
Toby. I always
Elijah Wood.
They hang out together.
Yeah, they do. They hang out together. They're friends.
Capital. Toby Jones, Rachel Starling, Gemma Jones, and Leslie Sharp in this series. Another very interesting series, a la Mr. Robot, a bit, right? So this is set in the community. People receive these postcards, and these postcards say to them, "We want what you have."
Yeah,
and there's this whole sort of thing that's going on, and people are trying to figure out what it's all about. Is it some sort of a marketing campaign? Is it this? Is that? What the hell is going on? And it starts to twist into everyone's heads, and it gets very dark and very intense, and it shows how little it takes to rip a community, to rip a society apart. A little bit of Lord of the Flies there. Some bonus material on this, the making of Capital. So interesting, very very good series there.
And let's see, we got one more Brit TV, The Syndicate, All or Nothing. For some reason it didn't quite resonate with me. I'm not sure why. I feel like it should. It should be one of those classic mystery things to me, but it didn't quite hit the spot. It just kind of misses it. Maybe the writing is not quite there. Anyway. The idea, this is, Kay Malore, who is a really, really great writer, is the one who's behind this, and maybe I need to take a look at it again. Anyway, it's like Downton Abbey with mysteries, basically, is the idea here, and you have a manor where, things that they've had financial trouble, and they've had to let everybody go, and now there is intrigue in the manor, and... I don't know. Maybe it feels like a little bit too pat of a setup, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, let's see if we can, like the big quote they have from the Daily Telegraph here is "Shades of Downton and Agatha Christie." Well, I could just hear somebody pitching it. It's Agatha Christie in Downton Abbey. The pitch just is more interesting than the execution. So anyway. The Syndicate, All or Nothing. It might be your kind of thing. It might not. So give it a look. Tim, let's talk about some classic films.
Yes, indeed.
Right off the bat, Pinocchio, Disney's Pinocchio, first time on Blu-ray, and it's none too soon. This is pretty fantastic. This is this may be the first animated film that I saw after my parents had scarred me with Patton and Tora Tora Tora. But I remember very well seeing Pinocchio with my father and thinking, yeah, that's cute, but where are the tanks?
Yeah.
Anyway, this comes with the Disney Movies Anywhere code, which I have to say is the greatest thing in my life. Could I tell you that?
Yes,
it's the greatest thing in my life. I never thought.
If you have a little baby girl,
look, I've been up and down on Ultraviolet and the Disney Anywheres thing, and it's like, well, just the disc is better resolution. No, let me tell you something. Here's why this is part of my life now, because it's too much work to just take that disc everywhere in the house. We've got 3 TVs in the house, and wherever she wants to watch it, that's where she's going to watch it. And to put one disc in, and then they put Snow White in, and then pull Snow White out, and then put Little Mermaid in, and then pull that out. No, now I turn on the Oppo. The Oppo has the Disney Anywhere's app on it. It's all part of my library there, and I bring it up, and I play it right off the internet for her, and I don't have to deal with discs or anything. It's amazing.
It goes to the next one. It goes to the next one.
And better yet, we went skiing recently. I've never been skiing in my life. Okay, this is my first time on skis. Wasn't pretty. By the way, see that scab there? That scab on my thumb? Yeah, there was a lot of blood on the snow because of that, and I still have a bone contusion on my leg. Wasn't pretty. But we went to the snow. Went to Mammoth. And we're hoping to get my daughter on skis. No. She just wants to watch movies. She doesn't want to get in the snow. She wants to watch movies. Oh, well, you know what? My wife downloaded all the Disney Anywhere movies onto the iPad. Boom. There it is. We have them with us. Didn't even need to bring the discs.
Yeah.
iPad. Set the iPad up. Here, watch. We're going to go throw snowballs.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
Smart
that
too.
said,
Yeah.
Pinocchio, God bless him. Some of the stuff's in the vault, like Cinderella's in the vault. You can't do a Disney Anywhere thing with Cinderella, but you absolutely can with Pinocchio. I mean, what am I going to tell you about Pinocchio? It's great. Lots of extras, lots of Blu-ray fun stuff. Looking at, looking back on the song, the making of the film, the animation. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. This is a great movie. A great classic, and it's no wonder that Disney decided to use "When You Wish Upon a Star" as its theme song forever, because it's just great. And there's a brand new version of the Oswald short "Poor Papa" on here. So you got to own this. If you have kids, if you have family, if you love movies, Pinocchio on Blu-ray, DVD, and with digital HD. It's great, from the signature Walt Disney collection.
We'll go from Pinocchio to Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Poltergeist 2 and 3 are the two films that we have here on DVD. Poltergeist, first one, 1982, Tobe Hooper's film. People forget that the primary screenplay for that film was written by Steven Spielberg.
It's right. It was going to be a Spielberg film originally.
It was going to be a Spielberg film. That was the primary too. It was a big giant
Same
hit.
year as E.T.
Same year as E.T.
Yep.
Very powerful film. That original Poltergeist. Really neat sort of special effects there. Poltergeist 2. A couple of years later, directed by Brian Gibson. We've still got Craig T. Nelson and Joe Beth Williams in Poltergeist 2, and the wonderful little Zelda Rubinstein, who played the little sort of medium, who came out to take care of some business there. Both of these DVDs have all kinds of stuff on them. The third film, a couple of years later, 1988, was directed by Gary Sherman. Zelda is still around. Tom Skerritt and Nancy Allen in the third film. So they're still going for, good acting and, a sort of dramatic arc, even in the third film, although some of the juice had been lost by then, and they were depending a little bit too much by the third film on special effects, on sort of CGI special effects, as opposed to those very practical effects that had been certainly the first film. Both of these have all kinds of stuff on brand new 2K scans, audio commentaries with the directors on the respective films, as well as some of these special effects people and screenwriters and the actors and such and such on both of these. Anyway, I always thoroughly enjoyed these films. They did a remake of the original Poltergeist, came out, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago. I have no idea why the hell they bothered to do that. That was ridiculous.
All right, and from that we're going to move to The Passion of the Christ. This has been out before. The definitive edition from a few years ago is still the one you want to have. There's only reason to get this. Look, this is a bargain-priced Blu-ray of Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ, which is being released for a very simple reason.
Yeah.
Mel is no longer in the doghouse.
Persona non grata.
Hacksaw Ridge got him back on the map, so people figured, people over at Fox, who have the rights to release Passion of the Christ, thought, well, why not? Let's just see if we can get a little more juice
Hollywood
on Passion.
Can't stay mad. Hollywood
They can't stay mad. We're not too far from Easter, so let's try to juice this up a little bit. But here's what they've done. So the only reason to get this is if you are a lazy slob and you're annoyed by the fact that the crucifixion of Christ is bloody and in Aramaic, and you don't want to watch a realistic depiction. Let's say you want to watch the one that's been edited, so it's not quite so violent, and maybe it's dubbed in English or in Spanish. Then you get this. Whatever. This has both the original cut, the theatrical cut, and the sanitized cut, which I think is just horrible. Defeats the purpose, and it's got an English and a Spanish dub. I don't really get the point, but for some people, I guess that's that makes it easy to digest. It's got all the the usual stuff, biblical footnotes and audio commentaries with Mel and theologians weighing in, and it's bargain priced. So it is not what I would. If you have the definitive edition, stick with that.
Kirsten Johnson is a cinematographer. She's a very important cinematographer who, for several decades now, since the middle 80s anyway, has been behind the lens of many films that you have seen, particularly if you like to watch things on PBS like The Independent Lens and such, a lot of travel films. She has helmed, as well as some very important films recently, including Citizen 4, and this film is not yet rated, and The Invisible War, all very important films, some of which were Academy Award nominated.
Wow.
Of late. Anyway, this film, Cameraperson, is an aggregation of several decades of her work into one sort of personal memoir.
A beautiful Criterion set.
Yeah, and absolutely beautiful. Blu-ray we're talking about here, approved by the cinematographer. It is very important that when a cinematographer has the opportunity to sit down and watch their work and put together a rescanned, recalibrated, and corrected. If they sign off on it, you know that you are seeing the thing that the cinematographer wanted you to see in the first place, which is what is happening here. Anyway, an absolutely exquisite film in and of itself, all the more striking because we understand that the cinematographer has signed off on that. So that's Cameraperson.
And Warner Archive, a lot of great Warner Archive stuff to talk about today. Only one DVD, the rest are all Blu-ray. The DVD is a cute little animated film called Cats Don't Dance that was completely off my radar. Great songs, actually, really fun songs. I had never heard of this before, but it is a nice discovery. It's kind of like a how would I put it? It's a little bit. It's a little bit like a Warner Brothers version of the Aristocats. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's kind of in there. Anyway, Randy Newman wrote the songs, and great voice casting in here. Scott Bakula, Jasmine Guy. It's actually quite a fun film. Very, very cute. Good animation. Very kind of a classic tinge to it, even though it's a more recent Warner Brothers animated film. Rated G, 75 minutes long. Really a lot of fun. But here's the good stuff.
Yeah, now
here's the good stuff. The Warner Archive Blueys.
Okay. Can you try to do the Black Dragon?
I was just gonna. I'll hit this stack.
You dive into that first, okay?
And then I'll leave you to jump all over that. Battleground with Van Johnson, John Hodiak, and Ricardo Montalban is a World War II film about the Battle of Bastogne. It is better than most of the usual World War II era films made around the World War II era, which are very often propaganda films. This is a really good cast. It has perhaps the funniest tagline of any war film from that era that I have ever seen. It is absolutely hilarious. This is the tagline: "The guts, gags, and glory of a lot of wonderful guys." That's hysterical. The guts, gags, and glory of a lot of wonderful guys. Yeah. That's like Citizen Kane. It's terrific.
Yeah, it started out good.
It's terrific. That was the tagline. We also have It's Always Fair Weather, which is just an absolutely beautiful musical, absolute classic. Gene Kelly, Sid Charisse, Michael Kidd. It's just it just doesn't get any better than that. It really is wonderful. One of the all-time great CinemaScope Arthur Freed produced musicals for MGM, now in the Warner Library, and God bless him, it's really, really great. Gene Kelly is rarely been better. Singing in the Rain and a few others, but it's just absolutely beautiful. As long as we're on the subject, we also have Bells Are Ringing with Judy Holliday and Dean Martin. Another CinemaScope musical gem, an absolute joy, directed by the king of musicals, Vincent Minnelli himself. And it just doesn't get any better. Comden and Green, Jules Stein did the music. Come on, this is legendary all the way through. And as before, produced by Arthur Freed. This is as good as it gets. If you've never seen Bells Are Ringing, you are missing one of the great just merging of talents of all time. Everybody who's involved in this is at peak peak skill, and it's just absolutely great. It's just a whole lot of fun. Dean Martin at his very, very best. Moving to more recent stuff, and then I'll leave these. Yeah, I'll cover I'll jump back at these other two. Time After Time, one of the great genre films of my growing up. Nicholas Meyer, who I'm not always that fond of, but did a great job with this really cool kind of fiction and fact genre-bending thing with a time travel search for Jack the Ripper that involves H.G. Wells. It's just a really, really cool movie. It's Malcolm McDowell's just flawless, one of his very, very best performances, and it's really a lot of fun. This is one of the better genre films of the 1980s. And then jumping back to the 1970s, The Goodbye Girl, one of the best Neil Simon, maybe even the best Neil Simon adaptation.
Yes.
Which, frankly, I most remember this for the song. David Gates, lead singer of Bread, did the song, which is just it just makes you cry. It's so wonderful.
I remember something completely different about it.
What do you remember?
Marshall Mason didn't wear a bra in the whole day. It was the 70s, man. Her, Jill Clayburgh, they were like, just,
well,
bras were out. The Gloria Steinem had made them burn them all. and the 70s, from 72
to about 80.
To about 80.
Yeah.
It was a solid time, baby.
And Richard Dreyfuss, of course, took home Best Actor for this.
Yeah.
Very, very deservedly. So it's a wonderful, wonderful movie.
Jimmy Coco.
Yeah.
James Coco.
Produced by Ray Stark, who, of course, had done, Funny Girl and a lot of other great films. Okay. It's really great. And then the last two Blu-rays from the Warner Archive Collection, Spencer Tracy and Robert Ryan in the sensational Bad Day at Black Rock. I know a bunch of our listeners have already gone out and purchased this. You got to get this. It is just an absolutely riveting movie. Yes, it's a noir. But it's more than that. Spencer Tracy is this World War II vet who comes to the town of Black Rock and runs into all kinds of badness as you would expect in a John Sturges directed movie. It is it's just great. Ernest Borgnine and Lee Marvin. Everybody in this movie has a face that looks like it was just blown out of granite. It's absolutely terrific. Really, really great. John Sturges, one of the all-time great tough guy directors. You got to get it. Blu-ray is fantastic. And then lastly, Audrey Hepburn in Wait Until Dark, which is still a great chiller, directed by Terrence Young, who comes out of James Bond films.
Yeah.
And come on.
You got Alan Arkin.
She's blind.
It's so
and
vulnerable.
Alan Arkin's after her.
She's just so vulnerable in that movie.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it works. If you look at that movie today, that movie takes place on the starkest set. 95% of it.
Absolutely.
It's just the starkest set. It's like the set of any sitcom.
And Alan Arkin is terrifying.
Absolutely fantastic.
Who casts Alan Arkin as a stalker? I mean, this is a blind. I mean, yes, it's a woman in jeopardy movie, and a lot of these. And I exchanged some emails with some of our listeners about this too. That why were so many women in jeopardy movies? Why did they all come out at this time? Was it a response to feminism? And I think to some degree it was. I think there's a fear, there's certainly a cultural fear that are women going to be able to handle being more liberated and so forth and so on. So yes, it's sort of an exploitation-minded response to feminism, but still, it's a great film. It's tense, it's suspenseful. Audrey Hepburn is great, so vulnerable.
Holds
like you said.
Holds up.
And Alan Arkin is just terrifying.
Ron Van Cliff, right?
Yeah.
Black Dragon's Revenge. Now it is said the film is about these sort of rival gangs fighting to get back this manual about this finger fighting manual.
Yeah.
Said to have been written by Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
It is said that Bruce Lee himself actually named Ron Van Cliff the Black Dragon, gave him that name. Actually, put that in. I don't. Maybe only Ron says that.
That's great.
But it is in fact said. Anyway, this is 1975. Fantastic. Sort of, that crossover of black exploitation film with Hong Kong film that popped up in the Dolomite films.
Yeah.
And of course, in all of our,
all the Jim Kelly stuff.
The Jim Kelly stuff and all the films back in the day. Everybody you can think of is in this movie. They all look fantastic. And you should check it out. Unfortunately, not a whole lot on here other than the movie itself. 90 minutes.
We got a couple from the Vestron collection. If you remember Vestron was like the original home video schlocky company.
Yeah.
And Lionsgate has the Vestron library now, and they are releasing things as part of the Vestron Video Collector Series, because these are all films now that, I hate to say it, these are now classics, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And they're schlocky, but they all have that Vestron veneer that makes us remember the 80s. In particular, Ken Russell's The Lair of the White Worm.
Yeah.
Now, just a word about Ken Russell. Ken Russell, of course.
You're going to tell this.
I'm going to tell all the stories. Ken Russell, of course, the eccentric British director who had previously done, Listomania and a lot of interesting films in the 60s and into the 70s, who then went straight up crazy after he made Altered States. Now, Altered States is a really good film.
Yeah.
After Altered States, he lost his mind, and he went and made Gothic, which is still one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. I still quote that film every day in some really derogatory way. Timothy Spall is good in it, but everybody else is ridiculous. Gabriel Byrne, and it's insane. It's an insane movie. It's all about just drug tripping.
Yeah.
And after Gothic, he just went completely out of his mind. Lair of the White Worm is based on a Bram Stoker work, but I can't, I've never read the Bram Stoker Lair of the White Worm. All I know is that this has to be the most drug-fueled interpretation of an otherwise great novel that I've ever seen in my life. Hugh Grant and Amanda Donahoe and Catherine Oxenberg. I hope they
didn't destroy their careers.
It didn't destroy their careers.
Everybody went on to work. Yeah.
Ken Russell does a commentary on here that you have to hear to actually appreciate. We almost interviewed Ken Russell for Stupid for Movies. We were supposed to. Corey, our wonderful Corey, who does our intros, Corey got there with the crew first, and Ken Russell wouldn't let them up. Wouldn't let them up into the hotel room. I got there later, and I was like, what? He's like, he keeps hanging up on us. What? It's like, yeah, Ken Russell just kept hanging up on him. And then like the following day, or it may have been the day before, Ken Russell was doing a Q&A for some of his films at the Academy, and it turned into a total fiasco. He was making fun of the guy who was interviewing him and wouldn't answer any questions. And you just thought, my gosh, you really are out of your mind. You're not just pretending to be crazy, like Kubrick. You're straight up bonkers. Yeah. So we never got our Ken Russell interview. Anyway, Lair of the White Worm, completely unhinged, crazy. But still a good cast. It didn't hurt their careers, and it's a nice flashback. Yeah. The other Vestron film is Parents, which was
love that movie.
I had totally forgotten this even existed. It was completely off my radar.
That's when dark comedy to me.
Mary Beth Hurt, Randy Quaid. It as the parents that. Well, let's just say, how do we even frame the plot? Your parents may not be the people you think they are, and what they're serving you to eat may not be what they're serving you to eat. Yeah. It is straight up creepy. It really is, but in a kind of black comedy way.
Yeah, anyway, funny.
Directed by Bob Balaban, by the way, of all people, who was wonderful, of course, on Seinfeld, but and Bob Balaban, who also was in Altered States, but he directed this, and he is not a bad director, and I wish he'd direct again. All right, you got some Mill Creek stuff there.
Yeah, well, a couple of things here. Band of the Hand, 1986. This was a neat movie that I remember from back in the day. I went to see this in the theaters. Stephen Lang, Leon, who would go on to be in the Madonna video way back then, playing Jesus and Five Heartbeats and whatnot. This was produced by Michael Mann, but directed by Paul Michael Glazier, of course.
Starsky
of Starsky and Hutch fame. You can't look at this from 1986 and not see Miami Vice all over it.
Right.
About these guys, these sort of felons wandering around doing whatever they're doing. So it's sort of a neat movie, again, from the 80s, doing that sort of 80s thing. Going a little bit further back to the original Gone in 60 Seconds, 1974, of course, Nick Cage and Angelina Jolie sort of remade a pale comparison to it in about, 2000, 2001 or something like that. The original classic, though, it's just a fantastic movie that I just absolutely love. 1974. This DVD is a restored master. Has all kinds of special features on, including the original trailer. A lot of never before seen footage, behind the scenes interviews with Lee LaRocca and Parnelli Jones. Just all kinds of really, really cool stuff. So anyway, for fans of the genre films from back in the day, the original classic, Gone in 60 Seconds. I have completely forgotten that Mariah Carey had a film career there. Both her and Britney Spears, around the same time, both made their big movies.
And you know what? They are. In hindsight, we made fun of them, but they're fine.
Yeah, I forgot Terrence Howard was in Glitter. Yeah. Glitter's the movie we're talking about, 2000. Vonnie Curtis Hall directed this movie.
Yeah. Another good director who needs to direct
another
again.
good director who needs to direct again. Made the best Tupac film, Gridlocked.
That's right.
Was directed by Vonnie Curtis Hall. Went on to Cassie Lemons, his wife, directs as well.
And whenever I see Vonnie Curtis Hall, all I can think of, and this says a lot, really. I think of him. It is one of his smallest roles, but it is so memorable to me. As the economically not viable man.
Falling down.
In Falling Down.
Falling down. Standing on the street with that. Yeah.
Economically not viable man.
That was this character.
And just there's that haunting look in his face.
Rose Smith film, I think.
Yeah.
Who wrote that film?
Yeah,
Michael Douglas film.
Directed by Joel Schumacher.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap out. I got a few from the Kino Classics collection here. Kino Classics, Kino Lorber Studio Classics. These are films that they license largely from major studios.
Yeah.
Stuff that nobody else would put out on Blu-ray, but they're putting them out. And there's some really, really interesting stuff here. The old era of biblical epics gave us a lot of really interesting films. Most of them from Cecil B. DeMille, but not all of them. Henry King in 1951 directed David and Bathsheba.
Oh, Peck and Hayward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gregory Peck and Susan Hayward.
Yeah.
And, not a bad film, actually. Not better in many respects and more faithful to the source material than what DeMille was doing, because DeMille was sexing it up. You know, he was trying to find a way to have it both ways, which is here's some titillating TNA, and by the way, naughty.
Yeah. And this is exactly what pissed God off in the first place.
Yeah, and that, Daryl Zanuck produced this, a solid director, written by Philip Dunn, directed by Henry King, great supporting cast, Raymond Massey. This is a really, really solid telling of the story. Yeah, it dates a little bit, but still, it's literate and it's solid, and Gregory Peck is terrific, absolutely terrific. Prince of Foxes, what a cast. Tyrone Power and Orson Welles. Yeah. A couple of real powerhouses there, and a great audio commentary on this with Troy Howarth. This is Prince of Foxes.
That's Henry
on
King
Blu-ray.
again.
Yep, Henry King again. A very different Henry King, though. This was made in 1949, a couple of years earlier. It's black and white, and it is a much more toned down. It's a more of a chamber. It's almost more Shakespeare.
It's about the Borgias.
It's a more Shakespearean kind of thing. Yeah, it looks at the intrigue in the court of the Borgias, which, of course, as we all know, the Borgias were the inspiration for the Corleones and the Godfather. Coppola's basically talked about that he, that was just as what he did with Conrad in Apocalypse Now, taking Conrad into Vietnam. The Godfathers was taking the Borgias into the world of the mafia. So it's, the Borgias are a fascinating historical family. And there were popes in the Borgias, and it just a family that dominated, like many families did at the time. But this is a really, really interesting Shakespearean approach to it. Very literate, very cool, great cast. Tyrone Power and Orson Welles anchor it, but other really great performances coming up behind them. A great supporting cast, really solid. Again, great work from Henry King. One of my favorite forgotten movies with amazing cinematography by Gene Kelly is What a Way to Go. And what a cast. Shirley MacLaine, Dick Van Dyke, Bob Cummings, Dean Martin, Paul Newman, Robert Mitchum, and, of course, Gene Kelly.
Yes, crazy.
Today, if you had a cast of that caliber, you wouldn't be able to afford the movie.
It's fantastic. Of course.
That's like amazing amount of star power in one film.
We LAFCA, Los Angeles Film Critics, we gave Shirley MacLaine
the Career Achievement Award this year.
She was there. She was fantastically funny. Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, Betty, and written Gwen Davis story and Betty Comden.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's fantastic.
You can't go better than that.
No, Comden and Green again. It's another classic musical. Wonderful, amazing cast. Got 2 Academy Award nominations. And one of them was for Edith Head's amazing costumes, and they are just glorious costumes.
Dick Van Dyke is in that movie. I forgot Dick Van Dyke was in that.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And then the last 2, Scavenger Hunt by Michael Schultz. What a great one! This is an even bigger cast. I mean, here's the cast. Let's just put this together. Richard Benjamin, Roddy McDowall, Robert Morley, Ruth Gordon, Scatman Crothers, James Coco, Cloris Leachman, Tony Randall, Vincent Price, Richard Mulligan, and Arnold Schwarzenegger even shows up in this thing.
And if I can, let me because
James Coco,
Jimmy Coco,
come on,
and that's directed by Michael Schultz. We don't talk about Michael Schultz, who's still around, been around 1,000 years.
Still not. He needs to direct again.
Michael Schultz is a African American director. All right, a lot of people who just don't happen to know him or pay attention or they hear that goes back on your Cooley High. It's going. It's Michael Schultz. He has been this stalwart figure for 40, maybe even 50. This is 19. Maybe even 50 years now.
This was the film when he transitioned out. Well, we could say Car Wash was, but in many respects, this is the film when he transitioned away from blaxploitation films into something more mainstream.
It's just he's been there for years. I mean, Denzel Washington's first major film, Carbon Copy.
That's right.
Directed by Michael. That's right. And Michael's works now. If you've watched Once Upon a Time or Graham or Michael directs all that kind of stuff. So it's just and just the fact that he and Ivan Dixon, two guys, I hang my hat on.
Yeah.
Again, 35, 40. I gotta admit it now. It's 40 years ago.
Wow.
More than 40 years ago. Those were two guys I hung my hat on. So I thought about being and black filmmakers. Because before them, the black filmmakers would be thinking about the guys out of the race films, the Oscar films,
sure. Right.
Kind of guys. And then of course you had Mario's dad.
Yeah. Melvin.
Sweet bad.
Yeah.
But sort of workaday directors.
Well, Scavenger Hunt is basically it's a mad world.
Yeah.
Is what it is, but it's a different take on it, and it's terribly funny and really smart, and it's great, and it's funny seeing Schwarzenegger in this thing in particular because it's very, very early in his career.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then lastly, James Coburn in the Internecine project.
Yeah.
Coburn did a lot of kind of quasi spy stuff, being a tough guy, and this is one of them. It's not terribly great. It's early 70s. It dates a little bit, but it's still a fun film. And Jonathan Lynn wrote it before he went on to do things like Heart Like a Wheel and other things like that. So it has a place in film history, and it's worth checking out. So if you're a James Coburn fan, definitely check it out. One of his many secret agent low-level James Bond knockoffs, the Internecine Project. We'll see you next week.
Ding, ding.